You are now watching the Ball and Beats podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode here of the Ball and Beats podcast. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that push notification bell to stay up to date on all new videos. Sun's out, guns out, as you can see here in the studio today. As today, here for this episode, we have the OG3.
That's right.
OG3, me, Spencer, and Alan joining us from Zoom. Alan, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm good. How are y'all?
Hey, we're doing great. It's a great day. It's a fun day. I'm jacked up. I'm excited. We got a lot to talk about today, guys. Let's get into our first segment here of the day. Let's talk NBA Finals, shall we? Let's go. So, NBA Final talk. You have Dallas Mavericks, Boston Celtics. How about that?
Well, let me just be the first to say, I was completely wrong about the Minnesota Timberwolves. Anthony Edwards folded when it mattered, and he had no help around him. So thanks a lot, Minnesota. Your state sucks. Haven't won a title in like 32 years, and I hope it keeps going because that state sucks. I hate Minnesota.
That's crazy.
But as for Dallas, Luka and Kyrie have gone on an absolute another level. I mean, we all knew Kyrie Irving. You know, he was a good. He's arguably one of the best guards in the league that wasn't talked about the past few years. When he was with Brooklyn, he was injured. He wasn't always playing, and then now with Dallas, him and Luka just have a hell of a connection together, and it's worked out in this playoff run.
It has worked out, and the last few years, the way it was looking here for Kyrie Irving, you thought he might never find a connection again, in Boston. It all started in Boston, ironically enough, and now he's the third player since, I think, 1962 to play against a former team in the NBA Finals. So when it comes to Kyrie Irving and this connection he has grown with Luka Doncic, it has been really surprising for me because you don't usually see two guards
work this well together.
Work this well.
Yeah.
They've connected amazingly, and, it's almost like he's given Luka a break a little bit because Luka had to carry the Mavs for a long time, and now with Kyrie Irving at the forefront as well with him, that tandem is maybe the best backcourt, most talented backcourt of all time we've ever seen.
Yeah, no, I think it is the best backcourt in the league. I don't think that's a question. All time, man, there's been a lot of good ones, but the way they've been playing recently,
I'll say not best, most talented. Most talented.
That's close. Yeah, I mean,
there's a difference.
It's close because I mean, good and talented, both. There's been a ton of them in the history of the NBA, but I don't know, Alan. What do you think about the Mavs?
Well, you know what? When Kyrie first got to Dallas, I didn't think it was gonna work because again, two guards, it doesn't really work out like how you would think. But ever since then, they've seemed to really gel, and especially during this year's playoffs, because obviously I'm a Thunder fan and I had to witness it. And my goodness, those two together, it's hard to argue with how good they are.
Yeah, it is.
I completely agree. And I think there's another thing to be said about their bench who's been playing well. P.J. Washington has been thriving in Dallas this postseason and has been a great third option for Kyrie and Luka when they're going off the bench. And Derek Lively and Gafford, they've been playing well too. This entire Mavs team is driven by Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic. That's not a question. They have the two stars in them. But they have a solid bench who has been really playing well in a great acquisition of P.J. Washington this past season because he's really helped this team.
P.J. Washington, he didn't really fit well in Charlotte, I don't think, and he had a lot of other drama with his time in Charlotte behind the scenes, other stuff going off the court. But him in Dallas, it's really worked. It's really worked in Dallas. I just don't understand, but he's become a great, solid number 3 there for the Mavericks. But let's move it over to Boston and the best team, the most consistent team all year in the NBA.
Yeah, I'm a Pistons fan again, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it's time for Boston to finally get over that hump.
Yeah, with predictions, this Celtics team is just that good. I mean, if you look at their star power they have Jrue Holiday, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. They're going to get Kristaps Porzingis back in this finals. Derek White's been playing very good for them. They're just the most well-rounded team and the most star-studded team in the NBA, and they won 64 games for a reason. And this team they just coasted through the Eastern Conference. They only lost 2 games?
Yeah.
They swept the Indiana and won in 5 against Cleveland and Miami, right?
Yeah, they won 5 in
so,
Miami and Cleveland.
I mean, Boston's been the most consistent team, and that's what happens when you have all this star power on your squad.
Right.
And I do think, and I know Dallas, I was wrong about Dallas before in the Western Conference Finals. I thought Minnesota was going to win. I thought Minnesota was going to win the finals. But the way Boston just dismantled Indiana, I find it hard to believe they don't do it to Dallas.
It's tough. We'll have to see for sure because we know how Boston can be with this team.
How Jason Tatum can be when
it matters most. Jason Tatum doesn't always show up like he should for the Celtics, but this team, they I don't know. It's tough. It's a tough one to predict.
Yeah.
I want to ask you guys, what would it mean for a lot of these players to get the first ring? You're talking Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, that duo. What would it mean for the Celtics to finally get back over the hump and get that ring? And looking over to Luka as well in Dallas, what would it mean for Doncic to get that first ring at 25 years old?
You know, for Luka, I think it's a prove it thing because he hasn't won an MVP in the 6 years he's been in the league.
5-time first team, though.
Exactly. He's been a first-team All-NBA 5 times. The only time it wasn't was his rookie year where he still averaged 20 points with Dallas. I think it's a prove-it thing for Luka, where Luka is one of the best players on the planet. And nobody... I think that he's so easily to forget because of how good he is, and then they just go to Jokic. I think he played better than Jokic, not only in the postseason, but in the regular season. He averages, near a triple-double. I think he had 9, and 30-something this year. It was crazy. And Luka's arguably, in my opinion, he's the best player in the league. I don't think it's close, and I think that he is proving it this postseason, not only with how good him and Kyrie are playing, but with just the way he has looked so comfortable. And the shots he has taken, man. He makes the hard shots look easy. I think it'd mean the most, however, to Jason Tatum, because Tatum's known as a choker. He's known as choking when the pressure gets to him, and he has choked. He has. The Celtics, it's not like the Celtics have been, this is the first year they've been good. They've been good every year Jason Tatum has been there. And Jaylen Brown the same way. But now they have their best team in the past years. It's better than the team that they had when they went to the finals against Golden State in 2022. And I think this is the year Boston has to get it done or it won't get done. This is make or break for Boston. If they don't win it this year, they're not winning it at all with this core.
I agree with that for sure as well. Alan?
I'd have to say for Jason Tatum, this is definitely important because every single year we talk about Jason Tatum, it's always, will he win the MVP award? Will he lead the league in scoring? It's all these accolades that he never has amounted to yet. And I think he's one of the more highly underrated players. That's just my personal feelings. And I think that he definitely needs to prove that he belongs and that he should be in these conversations. But he needs a ring to do that. So I do think that he definitely needs it. But I also agree with what Spencer said about how Luka also needs it. So I feel like for both of them, it's definitely a prove it type of thing. But I think Jason Tatum needs it just a little more than Luka.
Jason Tatum definitely needs it more than Luka. I think if Luka in Dallas ends up getting that ring, I think it just solidifies Luka as the best player in the NBA and solidifies him, I think, for his career trajectory. If he wins it at 25 years old, there's a lot of guys who win it at 25 who are usually not that main player. Mm-hmm. Look at Kyrie Irving, second to LeBron James. Ironically enough, if you look at the age difference. Kyrie was 25 and LeBron James was 32 when they won in Cleveland. In Dallas right now, Luka is 25 and Kyrie Irving is 32. So there's a lot of similarities there right now in the age, and I think for Luka, it just carries him to the next best player and the next great of the NBA. For Tatum, it's needed. He already went to the finals once and lost. He's choked in the conference finals multiple times. They've been in the conference finals at least 4 or 5 times in his career already. I think it matters so much more for Boston because this core, it's time. It's time for Boston to win with this core. Because if they don't, they never will. They never will.
No, because you look at it, they've had Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum for 5-6 years now, almost 7. Something like
I think
that.
7.
Yeah, I think it's 7 because Tatum got drafted in 17, and Jaylen Brown was he 18 or 16?
I don't recall, but I know they went back to back.
Late.
They went back to
18s.
back.
Yeah, they went back to back. It's been too many years, and Boston's has been good since both Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown have been on the Celtics.
And they have a lot of money in both of those guys' pockets.
Oh yeah, and they have a lot of talent on this team. This is the most talented Boston team, arguably since they won in 08.
It is.
With all those old veterans who just turned back the clock, and anything was possible, and they won it in 08. And I think this has got to be Boston's time, or they won't win it with either Tatum or Brown.
One more guy I think we should talk about and what it would mean for his career. Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
Kyrie Irving. It would be his second ring it would be his first since Cleveland. I think this ring actually matters the most of any player to Kyrie Irving, even more than Jason Tatum, because I think it solidifies his legacy and really changes the narrative around Kyrie Irving a lot more. And it's going to matter the most because ever since Cleveland, he tried to go out and be on his own. And it just didn't work in Boston. It didn't work in Brooklyn with the big three of James Harden and Kevin Durant. But for some reason, it's worked in Dallas. And he has really, really gone back to 2016 form in Cleveland here with the Mavericks. And I think with all the drama, all the off-court stuff with Kyrie Irving, I think if he wins a ring, he gets his second one, I think it really solidifies Kyrie Irving's legacy, and the narrative around him is going to be a much different conversation than it has been the last few years.
The main takeaway from that is I think Kyrie Irving learned he can't be the main guy in order to win a ring. He just can't. He has to have another superstar, and that's not a bad thing. Players have to have a supporting cast to win a ring.
Yeah.
I think Kyrie Irving is one of those players because he's averaged at least 25 points since, I think, Cleveland. Even his rookie year, he averaged 20. He's been one of the best guards in the league that no one has talked about because he was either injured when he was with Brooklyn or he just wasn't playing good. He had times in the Nets where he was benched, and then he was sat because he was playing terrible.
He also had the off the court kind of drama.
Yeah,
he had a lot of other stuff that kind of factored in.
Yeah, and I do agree with you to where this would mean a lot to Kyrie because this would be a rejuvenation of his career in a way of where he is 32, he is getting old, but he's still not that old. He's still got some good years left in him to where he can play like he has been this year. He averaged 25 in Dallas this year. He's been great. And I think he realized when he was with Boston, he was the main guy. Him, Jason Tatum, arguably that was Jason Tatum's one. I think it was the second year. Kyrie Irving was that guy to come in and gel it all together.
And it just didn't work.
And then he went to Brooklyn. They went and got Kevin Durant and James Harden. They were all injured. Like, they never played on the court. I think they were
16 games. 16, I think they all played on the court together.
16 or 17 games where they all played together in 2 seasons. It was nuts. Kyrie learned he has to have a player next to him. He doesn't have to be the main guy, and I think that's what he got with Dallas. Luka is the main guy, not even a question, but Kyrie is a really good second player that complements Luka Doncic, and it's what happened in Cleveland. That's why Cleveland won a ring. LeBron and Kyrie, and then you had a supporting cast. Same thing with Dallas, and this is a Cleveland type of team from a few years ago.
Yes.
They had Kevin Love, who, helped out. PJ Washington's doing that for Dallas.
Right.
Gafford and Tristan Thompson, sort of the same player, a double-double type of guy. And Kyrie Irving, if he wins this ring, he will rejuvenate his career. He will get his next contract, he will get a lot more money, and I think that this will really help him with his confidence more than anything else.
I think the confidence is there again.
Yes.
I think it's already back. And you're talking about arguably the best ball handler in history.
Yes. Oh, not a question.
The best ball handler.
Him and Allen Iverson, it's really close, but
we could talk about Jamal Crawford as well.
Yeah.
Even though, overall talent. You can make the argument Kyrie Irving might be the most talented point guard in the history of the NBA. Some people make that argument.
Yeah.
Sometimes
he's a lot like Luka. He makes tough shots.
Yes.
And clutch shots.
But there's just been something the last few years, it's just been off. But now it seems to be back for Kyrie. What are your thoughts, Alan?
As far as Kyrie's concerned, I do think that him definitely winning this ring is important. I just think he needs it to further boost his own legacy. I do think he's one of the better point guards in the league today. He can do everything. He can dribble, he can shoot. Like you said, he's also clutch, so it just works out. So it's just, I think this would help cement his legacy in the league as one of those top guards. and I do believe that it definitely will help.
Okay. So, time has come. NBA Finals starts tonight. This episode will be out Saturday, so we'll already be past game 1. But who wins and how many games? Spencer, start with you.
Man, this is a tough finals because you have two narratives with Boston. This is a make or break year. I think a lot of people realize that. Even the front office thinks that. For Dallas, this is a rejuvenation of Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic becoming arguably the clutchest duo in NBA history this postseason. They've made clutch shot against Minnesota, against Denver, and against Phoenix. And you know what? I'll ride the wave. I think Luka Doncic gets his first ring. I think the Mavericks win in 7. The Celtics are known to choke, and I think Jason Tatum, while he is good, he doesn't have that clutch gene in him that Kyrie Irving and what Luka Doncic have. So I'll take Mavs in 7.
Alan?
I have Boston in 6. I do think that Jason Tatum needs it. Also, Jaylen Brown kind of needs this ring also for the life of him. I think this is his year. And the Celtics got it in 6. They've been one of the more consistent teams. I know their record against West Conference teams isn't that good, but I do think that in this moment it'll matter. Give me Boston in 6.
Okay. Y'all know my hatred for the city of Boston, Massachusetts.
As you heard on the last episode.
As you heard on the last episode, is very strong, and I've maybe nothing stronger out there for me. You see me rocking the Dallas Mavericks jersey today as well. You see me rocking the Luka Doncic, you know. So I had to, because obviously Boston's in the finals, of course.
It's clean.
Boston in 4 for obvious reasons. I've been wrong most of this playoffs. I have been wrong a lot of the time for most of these series. So the Boston Celtics are going to sweep the Mavericks for obvious reasons.
This never works. This reverse psychology thing.
It's not reverse psychology. It's what I really think, Spencer.
Oh, really? That's not what the group chat said.
It's what I really think, okay?
I'm sure it is.
Yeah. Boston in 4 for obvious reasons. And I'm going to leave it at that. No further questions. God. With that, that's going to wrap up this basketball segment. When we come back, will the real Slim Shady please stand up? And welcome back here for our entertainment segment here, episode 105 of the Ball and Beats podcast. The OG3 here all today.
The ones who built it up.
The ones who built this dynasty of the Ball and Beats podcast.
That's right.
The main 3, the core 3 are all here. Alan, how are you doing, Mr. Detroit?
I'm doing good. And I mean, this entertainment segment, we have someone from Detroit, to talk about.
Yeah, that's all this segment will be about today, as the man, the myth, the legend, Slim Shady, Marshall Mathers, Eminem, he dropped a single called Houdini. And in that single, let's say Slim Shady may have returned.
Yeah, that was... People don't like Houdini because they don't know who Slim Shady was.
Yeah.
They don't realize, like the comic thing with Rat Boy, they didn't know that was a reference to old Slim Shady. I thought Houdini was really, really good, and I'm really excited for this album that's coming out. I'm a huge Eminem fan. It's probably the only rap artist I really listen to. I'm not really a rap guy, but, I just like Eminem. But, he's gotten a lot of strays from his past albums. Like
Deservedly so, I will say.
Revival was not good. I didn't like Kamikaze. He just hasn't had a banger album in a long time. And I think it's time. I think this will be, the death of Slim Shady, I think will be his banger album. And it's going to probably be the last album to where he is Slim Shady. Slim Shady is young Eminem. If anybody doesn't know, Young Eminem didn't care what people thought. He said what he said. He said anything. And if you tried to cancel him, he would just rap you out. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
You were not going to win a rap battle against Eminem.
No.
Machine Gun Kelly learned that the hard way. He changed genres because of it.
Most artists learn the hard way.
Yes.
When it comes to trying to beef with Eminem here. But Alan, what are your thoughts on Houdini?
I actually liked it. I do agree it was a return to that old Slim Shady that we come to know. I mean, it literally is about Slim Shady. And I do think that the album itself will be sort of an evolution. So this will be like, because again, it's the death of Slim Shady, so you have to have the Slim Shady elements for it to be like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, people are already hating the song, but that's because people just, again, don't understand who Slim Shady is. I mean, if you listen to his music, you would understand just how good it actually is. But
yeah, that's
everyone wants to cancel everything these days. So.
No, that's the thing I don't get is like people, they're like, why is he having a comic rap boy? That's really cringy. Why is he saying all these shots? Why is he coming at Megan Thee Stallion and all this stuff? That was funny. That was funny. It's because people don't realize who he is,
right?
Who he was, I should say. They just know the Marshall Mathers. That's it, Marshall Mathers, because Slim Shady's a completely different person and a completely different rapper. And Slim Shady is one of the most goated rappers of all time. Marshall Mathers, his past few albums, they weren't good. They were not good. And I'm hoping that this brings back the Eminem fans of old to this album.
Yeah. Regardless of what people think of Eminem or where they'd have him on their list of all-time rappers, I don't think there's an argument you can make that he might not be the best with the pen.
100%.
The rhyme schemes, just the way his cadence is.
Lyrical genius.
He's a lyrical genius. He is. And for me, the song, I can't really listen to it on its own. I have to watch the music video with it.
Oh, it's
because
awesome.
of the nostalgia of it. It's a lot of Without Me references, with the Rap Boy, with, Dre calling him, the Paul phone calls,
Yep.
And it's a massive reference to Without Me. You had a little bit in the music video of the Just Lose It. You
had all the rappers say "Guess Who's Back" at the beginning of the music video.
That's literally the start of Without Me. So it's a revival of 2002 Slim Shady in 2024. That's the whole reference of the video, whole reference of the song. We're gonna see some cancelable moments from Eminem, but we always have, and his fan base is too big to really have that affect him in 2024. Regardless of how it is today in nature with just how the world has changed. Eminem, it won't matter. It won't matter because
who's
Eminem
gonna cancel Eminem?
Too many. If they try and cancel him, they tried. Think about this.
They've tried for years.
They tried in 2002.
Yeah,
when Slim Shady was Slim Shady. Yeah, and it still didn't matter. So in 2024,
he got bigger because of it.
Yes, in 2024, it's definitely not going to matter. And I will say, all people out there who like Eminem, they have been wanting something like this.
We've been wanting Slim Shady for years because we haven't gotten it since the early 2000s.
I've been known on this podcast to dog Eminem about his last decade of music.
Rightfully so.
We've been dogging Eminem on this podcast a lot.
Yeah, his last few albums were not good. It was not the Eminem we were used to in the early 2000s. That's why Slim Shady's a completely different person. Kamikaze was terrible. I mean, Revival was awful. These are terrible albums, and I'm hoping this, quote unquote revival of his career and revival of the old Slim Shady.
Yeah. Eminem, that man is back. Alan, what do you think? Yeah.
Again, I do say. I'm trying to collect my thoughts. Music to Be Murdered By, the last album that came out, I think that was the better of the last three that we got.
Yes. In 2020,
Revival, again, sucked.
Revival's
And
terrible.
then Kamikaze, I thought was okay. So I do think that this album will be a return to form, and I do think that he is back as Slim Shady. And like we said, you can't really cancel him because you'll probably get canceled yourself. So...
Yeah,
the Eminem Show in 2002 is one of the best albums of all time. I mean, it was really good. The Marshall Mathers LP in 2000. That was really good.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping this is. I don't think it will be that to that extent because that album is just it's insane.
It's not gonna live up to those.
No.
But what it's gonna be a reference
something
back.
Of that.
It's gonna be like a reference back to those.
Something of like, some of that magic from back then to this new album. Because Eminem, he doesn't need it because he is arguably one of the greatest rappers of all time. I'm a little biased because Detroit and everything. I love Eminem, but you can't not have Eminem at least in the top 10, top 5 rappers of all time.
I agree there, 100%.
And
wherever
in terms of lyrics, and he's number one.
Yes, when it comes to
just
the pen,
lyrics alone.
I think Kendrick Lamar's getting there personally.
He is. Kendrick Lamar's been, I think him and Eminem, he's almost on Eminem's level.
I actually think Kendrick Lamar is pretty close to Eminem's level when it comes to the pen. Yeah. For modern day guys, he's definitely the best, I think, with his lyricism. But when it comes to Eminem, it looks like we're finally going to get back a little bit, just a little bit of a glimpse back to the history of Slim Shady. Anyone out there, if you try and cancel him, it's just not going to work because then he's just going to destroy you. He's going to
get killed.
destroy your career. Like he said,
Machine Gun Kelly's career, he went to a completely different genre and he got destroyed. Killshot was one of the greatest diss tracks.
Everyone's forgetting he just recently had Benzino crying on a podcast because he's been destroying him for 20 years.
Yep.
And he just did a month ago on Doomsday. So I think people just got to remember, don't mess with Eminem.
My favorite,
he'll come for the head.
Do not talk about his daughter.
Don't talk about his daughter.
Except him.
Because
he said that there were a bunch of brats in the new music video. Yep. It's like, don't talk about Haley because that's what MGK tried doing. And
she just got married recently as well.
Then he went out and said, "I'd rather be 80-year-old me than 20-year-old you," and that destroyed Machine Gun Kelly.
He said a lot more, I think, that would destroy him.
He said a lot more, but I can't say it on here.
Right, that's true.
That's a PG version.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Ball and Beats Plus, we might be able to do that, though. Yeah. If y'all support us enough, we can make Ball and Beats Plus to make better content.
Make a Patreon or something.
Patreon as well. You never know. You never know. But that's going to wrap up this entertainment segment. When we come back, some wide receivers are making some massive, massive dough in the National Football League.
Can I have some?
Can we have some,
Can we have some, please?
Please.
You really need all that money?
We'll be back to discuss that here at the Ball and Beats Podcast. Don't go anywhere. And welcome back here to episode 105 of the Ball and Beats Podcast here. The OG3, here in the studio. Well, the two in the studios. We got Alan joining us from home here to discuss some football talk. Wide receivers have been making a lot of money, but there's more important stuff to talk about real quick. Just real quick. The Cleveland Browns regime finally got extended for the first time in my lifetime. Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry finally got their contract extensions, and the Cleveland Browns are set up for history here as Spencer is snoring, doesn't care.
Boring.
What you mean?
Boring. And there go the viewers.
There go the viewers? Oh, they all left right here? Yeah,
Yep.
Okay. Hey, I don't care. It feels great to be a Browns fan right now because we have not seen this ever, at least in my lifetime, where a coach and general manager actually got extended.
So I also have a question about that. Does it also feel good to be paying your quarterback $65 million for the next few years?
That
your general manager made the trade on? That's been utterly atrocious?
It's been atrocious so far. But, people can keep sleeping. I think stuff is going to work out.
Yeah.
Everything all depends on Deshaun Watson and his play for this year. That's why everyone keeps sleeping on the Browns, I think. But people forget we had the number one defense in the NFL last season. I think people forgot, when Nick Chubb comes back and he's healthy, they'll be decent. We got Jerry Jeudy in a trade. Jerry Jeudy, I think he's a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, next to Amari Cooper. But Amari Cooper's been top 10 in receiving recently. People keep forgetting about that, So I think Cleveland's going to be fine, All my Cleveland Browns fans out there who are watching, we'll be straight. Don't worry about anybody else on this panel and what they have to say about us, okay? Just want
Get
y'all
ready
to know that.
for 8-9 or 9-8. All
and
right.
guess what? That's successful as a Browns fan. It don't matter. But on to bigger and better news. Justin Jefferson, $35 million a year here, now the highest paid non-quarterback in the National Football League. This wide receiver money and this money in general for all positions is about to get way out of hand in a decade.
You look at this offseason. This offseason, we've had 3 wide receivers arguably making around $30 million a year or more. Amon-Ra, started the trend, and then A.J. Brown and the Eagles followed up literally a day later with 32 a year, and now Justin Jefferson's making 35. What that means is CeeDee Lamb's going to be making 36 because they're just going to keep going up. And then Brandon Ayuk, I don't think he should be making more than 30 in my opinion, but he probably will when he gets traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I wanted to talk about that a little bit later on because, there's a lot of talk right now about Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk. Who's getting traded, which is gone. In San Francisco, I feel like that's going to happen here sooner rather than later before the season starts. I think either Deebo or Ayuk will not be a 49er.
I think it's Ayuk just because of the contract. I don't think the Niners want to pay him 30+ because they got to pay Brock Purdy here in 2 years, and he's going to want above 40, 45. So they got to hold their money because they're paying a lot of players right now. I mean, they just re-signed Christian McCaffrey. $19 million a year for a running back is a lot of money, but I mean, McCaffrey is that one dude that I would pay. But no, Justin Jefferson making 35 a year, I understand it. I mean, what else is Minnesota going to do? If they traded him, Minnesota would be
nothing.
Awful. They'd be
awful.
Nothing.
Yeah.
And, I can't wait for the JJ to JJ touchdown Viking and all this stuff. It's going to be so annoying, man. But,
yes,
I think he deserves every bit of money. He is, in my opinion, the best receiver in the league when he's healthy.
Dude,
he makes
that Jamar Chase money, though. Dude, the Bengals, when they have to pay Jamar.
Ooh, baby. Yeah, they won't have T. Higgins. That's for long.
I think the real question is who's going to be the first wide receiver to 40 mil?
It might be Jamar Chase.
Could be Jamar Chase. The rate of contracts right now, specifically at the wide receiver position, it's nuts. That's the second highest paid position now in the league. The way the game's going, becoming more offense pass heavy offenses. And the quarterback money, you got all this quarterback money too. You still got Tua, who needs a contract extension. You still got Jordan Love, who's probably going to get a contract extension from Green Bay this offseason as well. Yep. You've got a lot of these guys. Tua, you're talking about a guy who could make $50 to $55 million a year. For Tua,
not worth it.
You got Jordan Love, who could be up there too.
Kind of worth it, yeah.
I
need to see another year out of him though.
It's like, man, the money is getting
crazy.
Nuts. It's getting
nuts.
But
then again, the cap's going up. The cap's going up every single year, and it will continue to because sooner or later, probably in our lifetime, there'll be a quarterback making $100 million a year.
Yeah.
It will be a long time from now, but in some time in our lifetime, we will see that because the cap will be insane. Cap will be like $1 billion at that point. Because players are going to want more and more because they're going
to have Lamar Jackson as your third string quarterback. Yeah. Lamar Jackson quality quarterback as your third string at that rate.
And you're going to have to pay him $40 million.
Yeah.
At least.
It's insane.
Look at it. Like A.J. Brown got paid this offseason. Yeah. Devontae Smith got paid. The Eagles are paying $60 million. Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill are going to be making around $30 million. So you have two receivers making $60 million.
On the same roster.
Nuts.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to pay Tua soon, which means they're going to have to decimate their roster or their defense because they've already done it to their defense with losing Christian Wilkins. That's why they had to re-sign. That's why they had to re-sign Waddles because they lost Wilkins.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like, if you're really good at what you do, you're going to get paid. You saw it with Amon-Ra, St. Brown with the Lions. You saw it with Devontae Smith. You saw it with A.J. Brown. And you saw it with Justin Jefferson. They are the best receivers at Devontae Smith. A.J. Brown, Justin Jefferson, and Amon-Ra St. Brown are arguably their top 5. I don't think that is arguable. I think they are top 5.
CeeDee Lamb, who is going to get that
CeeDee Lamb,
extension,
and then you can throw Tyreek Hill in there.
Now, this is a conversation we need to have. Talk about Dallas in general, because the Dallas Cowboys are in a massive predicament here. They have to pay CeeDee Lamb, they have to pay Micah Parsons, they have to pay Dak Prescott.
Ooh, baby.
Which one, because I think one of them will be left out, which one will be left out? I think I know my answer.
I
know my answer.
I think if it was me, I'd get rid of Dak Prescott. But they're not going to do that because they love Dak. I don't know, man. That's tough. Release everybody else. Keep those 3 players. How about that?
Yeah.
If I was them, valuing what I value, I value defense.
Because they're not gonna. What other quarterback do they have besides Dak Prescott? But then you got to pay CD Lamb.
I mean, they got Trey Lance as backup.
You can't.
There you go.
They have Trey Lance.
You can't afford to lose
You know,
him.
if we had a bold take segment today, I actually have a very bold take about the Dallas Cowboys, but we'll have to wait until
I think
later.
they should get rid of CD Lamb. If I was the Cowboys general manager, if I was the GM, I'd get rid of Dak Prescott. But Jerry Boy's not going to do that because he loves Dak. I think he gets rid of CD. Well, I think they should get rid of CD Lamb if they have to choose one of them because they're not going to get rid of Dak. I think Micah Parsons is the best defensive player on the planet right now. Him and Nick Bosa. Fine. Miles Garrett and TJ Watt.
No. All 4 of them are like the S tier.
Yes.
All 4 of the S
He's
tier.
one of the best defense. He is arguably, in my opinion, I think he's better than Nick Bosa, the best defensive player in the NFC.
I think he's the most talented out of all of the guys,
yes.
personally.
And he can do anything. He can do everything. I mean, he gets held every play. They never call it. That's how you know.
Sounds like Miles Garrett. Yeah.
Maybe Miles will swing his helmet at the referees next time.
All right.
But I think it should be Dak. They're not going to get rid of Dak. So if I had to choose what I think Jerry would do, I think they get rid of CD.
Allen. Who did they get
I
rid
have
of?
to agree with Spencer. As much as they can't really afford it because they don't really have another wide receiver, not really. It's easier to get another wide receiver for cheap.
Because you're not going to have to pay Micah Parsons $35 million, what CD Lamb's going to ask for. Micah Parsons,
Exactly.
I mean, 20, 25, something around there.
Micah Parsons, 2020. At this rate, the way the edges are going, you're talking 25 to 30.
Yeah, I mean, around 25, we'll say. They're going to get $10 million less that they're going to pay Dak Prescott because they want to keep Dak. And I think it's going to have to be CD.
I personally think Dak Prescott's going to be the one who's gone. I think CD Lamb is top 5 receiver in the league. I think Micah Parsons is top 3 at his position.
Yep.
And Dak Prescott,
Top 10,
top 10,
maybe?
maybe. You know, I think Dak Prescott, it's not that he himself is
He's
not
good.
bad.
He's a really good quarterback.
He is.
The problem is he doesn't do anything in the playoffs. If you're paying your quarterback 40, 50, well, sorry, 40's out of the question.
I'll say this.
50-some million, they better win games in the playoffs.
I think there's a team out there who'd be willing to pay Dak Prescott that kind of money that he would ask for. I do think there is a team out there.
When the
And I don't
Browns
think
release Deshaun Watson, Dak Prescott will go to Cleveland.
It's not the worst idea in the world. I mean, I'm not opposed to something like that. I think Dak Prescott's still a pretty quality quarterback. I feel like Jerry Jones, that man down there in Arlington,
get out of the
Texas,
GM
Frisco,
spot,
Texas,
man.
Dallas, Texas.
Arlington, Texas.
Well, if you want to go to there.
Yes.
Every city down there in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Jerry Jones, I think Dak Prescott's the guy. I wonder if Dallas just implodes this season. What happens? What happens if the Cowboys implode on themselves this season? I've got the craziest bold take of all time. I don't know if y'all are ready for it.
If they're bad this season, which I mean they won the division last year, which means they won't win it this year because the NFC East, you don't win the division 2 years in a row. So probably be Philly because it's not going to be Washington, it's not going to be New York. I think you got to just get all the draft picks you can. You go trade Micah Parsons. You go trade CD Lamb. You get rid of Dak Prescott. You just restart because this core's not going to win. This core's not going to win a playoff game. This core's not going to win a Super Bowl. In Dallas, that's all that matters.
In Dallas, all that matters is money anymore for Jerry Jones, but the fans,
He's got a ton of it.
You know, the fans, they crave that Super Bowl. You want to hear the boldest take of all time? Maybe you'll ever hear. I'm gonna say it right now. I don't care. So Dallas implodes on themselves, right? This season, the quarterback's gone.
What goes as implodes? What record?
What does this implode?
6 and 10, 6 and 11,
6 and 11, 7 and 10.
which is
know.
unacceptable in Dallas. Yeah,
But they get that money. They pay Michael Parsons. They pay CD Lamb. They fire Coach Mike McCarthy. Okay, and Dak Prescott is gone. Just this hypothetical bold take.
it's not bold yet.
Who do you got to replace him with somebody. You got to replace him with a head coach. You got a new head coach. You got to get a new quarterback. They told me bust down my AP. Shadur Sanders and Deion Sanders in Dallas.
No,
that's not happening.
No, stop. That's not bold. That's stupid.
Dude, that's not
Deion
happening.
Sanders is gonna go 3-9 with his amazing quarterback that he has.
I'm not saying it's a great move. I'm saying that's a Jerry Jones move.
You think? No, players don't want to play. He doesn't recruit in college right now. What means he's gonna go and scout players at the combine?
Hey, I'm just saying. I think that's a Jerry Jones move.
In my opinion, it's as easy as this. you get rid of Dak Prescott, you sign Micah Parsons, you sign CeeDee Lamb, and you go hire Ben Johnson in the offseason.
Yeah.
You go get an offensive mind, you go get Trey Lance, or you go draft a quarterback, you restart. It's as simple as that. And Ben Johnson, I love him. I wish he'd just stay forever in Detroit. If Dallas comes calling, that's one of the jobs you have to take.
It is.
The Cowboys are a job you have to take.
The thing is, I don't feel like Dallas would be a job that would offer Ben Johnson because it's Jerry Jones. I think
he doesn't
Jerry
want
Jones,
a good hire. He wants a sexy offer.
That's why I'm bringing up the
I know
Sanders,
it's a completely
Shadur Sanders
different
idea.
sport, but with today, the Lakers going out they want to hire Dan Hurley, college coach.
Hold on, we'll get into that conversation later because we got to talk about that. Like, we didn't even talk about that.
We didn't talk about it in basketball. We already had our basketball.
We did
segment.
already have the basketball segment. Dan Hurley, JJ Redick and Dan Hurley drama.
It's names.
It's names.
Like, college coaches aren't always going to work out in the NBA. Just look what happened with Michigan's old head coach.
Yeah. It ain't going to work out in the
Cleveland.
NFL. It hasn't worked out that much in the NFL. You had Urban Meyer to Jacksonville. You had Matt Rule to Carolina recently. But who says Jerry Jones wouldn't try it? And it's Deion Sanders, a former Dallas Cowboy as well.
If Jerry Jones does that, someone needs to take over the Cowboys front office and either kill or get rid of Jerry Jones.
Don't say kill Jerry Jones.
He needs that is some stupid stuff.
It's Jerry Jones. I wouldn't put anything past Jerry Jones for his guys.
Who knows what he wants anymore? He's too old. He doesn't know what's going on anymore. Someone just take over in Dallas.
No, they do need
I'm
someone
sure.
else to take over.
Does your dad like Jerry Jones?
He despises.
Exactly.
Jerry
I don't
Jones.
think Cowboys fans even like Jerry Jones anymore. So.
None of them do.
Yeah.
The vast majority of actual Cowboys fans, not the
bandwagons.
The bandwagon stereotypical.
How about them boys?
They don't like Jerry Jones. I can tell you that for all those Cowboys fans out there who are real fans and realists of the game. They all despise Jerry Jones. So
I would too, honestly.
I would too.
Yeah. So I don't know why. I just wanted to bring that discussion to the table because I've been thinking about it recently. Like, what happens with Dallas? Because I think Dallas is one of the biggest storylines with all the money they have to pay. For all these stars they have. CeeDee Lamb, I think CeeDee Lamb's going to get paid this offseason. Yep. I do think he will get that money from Dallas. Micah Parsons, one of the best defensive players of the game. He's going to get that money from Dallas. Where does that leave Dak? I think Dak's the one who's going to be gone. They do have, realistically,
Dak's going to ask for 50-55, and I don't think
Dallas,
someone will pay him that, but I don't think it should be Dallas.
I don't think it'll be Dallas. Realistically, let's go back to realistic. Trey Lance, backup, might finally get a chance.
There, yeah.
He might finally get his chance in Dallas afterwards, you know?
He should. Because I do think Trey Lance is talented. He is talented. He just was either injured or didn't play.
Yeah.
He didn't get a legit He deserves one more shot.
Yes.
Because he's been with Dallas. He was there all last year. He didn't play at all. So I think he deserves a shot. And if it doesn't work out, you go and draft a quarterback the next year.
Yeah. But I'm just putting it out there in the world right now. Don't be shocked to see
Someone
Sanders.
Take over for Jerry Jones.
Deion Sanders and Shadur Sanders on the Dallas sideline.
I will laugh.
Come
I will
2025.
think it's hilarious, and I think it's funny that the Cowboys lose every year. But if I was a Cowboys fan, I'd want Jerry Jones out, and I would want a new head coach. Mike McCarthy is not good anymore. He can't win in the playoffs. He's one of the worst coaches of time management I've ever seen in my life.
That's very true.
This dude can't
manage
time to save his life.
Yeah.
And the only reason he won a Super Bowl is because Aaron Rodgers bailed him out. So.
Yeah. That's going to wrap up this football segment here, guys. When we come back, Stanley Cup final predictions. Don't go anywhere.
And welcome back to the Ball and Beats podcast. This is time for our Stanley Cup playoff segment. Gentlemen, we have our Stanley Cup finals. Edmonton versus Florida. I think we all predicted that. I think
I didn't. I chose Dallas because I said
you did.
I chose Dallas because I said a Canadian team just can't make the Stanley Cup final like that.
Yeah.
Recently, but
me and Aaron had it.
Realistically, Edmonton had been playing the best hockey. Yeah. So it makes sense.
Connor McJesus in the finals. You love to see it.
It makes sense. It makes sense to see the Oilers make the Stanley Cup final. They've been the best. They have the best player in hockey, with Connor McDavid. So,
So you got to look for me. You got to look at the storylines of both teams. First off, for Edmonton hasn't won a Stanley Cup since Gretzky. It's not that Gretzky was the greatest of all time, and they last won in 1990. I get that's not that hard to realize because they haven't done anything since then. Yeah. But for Florida, I think this is bigger for them. Florida has never won a Stanley Cup, and they were in it last year, and they lost to Vegas. This, for me, if I had to choose a team that wants it the most, I know Edmonton, they haven't won a long time. You got Connor McDavid. I think it's Florida. When you lose a championship the year prior and you get back, I think that drives you even harder to want to win it this year because you don't know if you're ever going to get back.
Right.
And I think that's the biggest storyline. Florida's won back-to-back Eastern Conference championships, and I think this is the year. I think Florida wins, but I want Edmonton to win. I want Edmonton to win just because I want to see Connor McDavid hold up the Stanley Cup. I think that would be sports heaven for all hockey fans because nobody really hates Connor McDavid, unless you're playing against him in that game. But other than that, hockey fans respect the heck out of him because of how good he is. He got wasted in Edmonton his first few years, and now he's finally gotten over the hump of the Western Conference Finals. Canada having a Stanley Cup Finals team again for the first time since a few years ago with Montreal in the
bubble.
The bubble, yeah, in the COVID year. I think it means more to Florida. I want Edmonton, but I'm going to choose Florida to win this series if I had to bet on them in 6. The better goaltender right now is Sergei Bobrovsky.
Yes.
He's been playing out of his mind, and Matthew Tkachuk, in my opinion, will go down as arguably the greatest acquisitions in hockey history because of how he has turned around this Florida franchise when they had Jonathan Huberdeau for Matthew Tkachuk. It was a steal of a trade by the Florida Panthers. They got Carter Verhaeghe from Calgary. They got, Matthew Tkachuk, who is their best player, in my opinion, with Alexander Barkov on that top line. And he's taken them to back-to-back Stanley Cup finals. I think this is the year they get it done. I think Florida, this is their time. Edmonton, I hope, I want to win. I want to see Connor McDavid win. But like I said, if I had to bet, I'm going to go with Florida.
If Florida does win, that would make it the first time I think you'd ever have, not maybe the first time, but you'd have back-to-back first time Stanley Cup champions organizationally as Vegas finally got their first one a couple years ago as well.
5 straight years a team from Florida has made the Stanley Cup final.
Yep, you had the Lightning.
Tampa with those 3 times, and they won 2, and then Florida back-to-back years.
Yeah, the East has really gone through the Sunshine State, ironically enough.
Yes, it has.
The last half decade here for the National Hockey League.
Yep.
Alan, what's your prediction here for the Stanley Cup final?
I got to give it to Edmonton. I mean, I'm a Connor McDavid supporter, He really is one of the best as of right now, I would say. And it's been a long time coming for him, again, getting over that hump of the Western Conference. So I just think it's time. And I do think that he gets his first, which I will be excited for. So I have to go with Edmonton.
How many games?
I'd say Florida's really good too. So I'd honestly give it 6 games.
Personally, I think this goes to 7. I think you're talking the best overall team in Florida with the best overall player in Edmonton. Give me Florida in 7. It's tough. It's tough, but when you have
it's a tough one.
When what Spencer's talking about, when you had that drive, you got there last year, and you had that chance and you lost, but you got back again.
Yep.
That drives a team like crazy.
Yep.
It's like, who knows if we'll get back here? We got a second chance. And I think Florida, they're going to be up to the task. And I think that in the end, I do think the Panthers will hoist the Stanley Cup trophy. But I do want to see Edmonton. I think we all agree we want to see Edmonton win it because of Connor McDavid. And just, the nostalgia of the Oilers with Wayne Gretzky and everything from past times as well. But I do think the better overall team is the Florida Panthers. You're right. They do have the best goalkeeper in Bobrovsky. I think Florida's just the better team, and I think they're going to get it done. They're going to get it done in 7, I think.
Yeah, like Florida has the best team in the Stanley Cup Finals, but Edmonton has the best player. So it's really hard to choose because you got best overall or you have the best. It's really hard to choose. I'm not going to be mad if Florida wins. I mean, I don't like Atlantic teams. The Atlantic has had a Stanley Cup final representative, in every year since 2018. 2018 was the last year they didn't. That's when Washington won it. Ever since then, the Atlantic Division has been just a gauntlet, and of course the Red Wings are in it, so it's hard to do anything in it. But no, and the thing is, like Logan said, the drive to win after losing last year, it's real. Like, these players feel it. The coaches feel it. Front office feels it. And, I want to see Edmonton win, not just for Connor McDavid. I think Canada needs something.
They
man.
do.
It's been 30 years since they've won a Stanley Cup. Montreal was the last team in 94. And they have good teams almost every year. Canada always has really good teams. Edmonton, Toronto, Winnipeg, Vancouver this year. They always have good. The problem is something with Canadian teams, they never get it done.
Yeah, Vancouver even last year, I think, too. Didn't they make the Western Conference Finals last year? Canucks?
That was 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
That's what it was. I can't remember who Vegas played in.
They played. I can't remember who they played.
I thought it was Vancouver.
I think it was Dallas.
It might have been Dallas.
I think they played Dallas, but I can't remember. But I really think that Canada needs something.
Yes.
So I'm rooting for Edmonton, just for Connor McDavid, for the sake of him, and for the sake of Canada.
I'm just saying,
give the neighbors up north something.
It's bad when the NBA team in Canada has won more recently than the NHL team. That's saying something.
It's been 5 years. That's crazy.
That's saying something.
Since Toronto,
really, think about
the
it.
Raptors.
The only way Canada wins the championship is the CFL. This is the CFL. Congratulations. CFL starting up this week too, ironically enough. Maybe we should start talking about Canadian football on this podcast, The
Toronto Argonauts?
Yeah. You got the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Who was
Edmonton Elks?
Who was Johnny Manziel on?
Montreal Alouettes.
That's right. Yep.
Montreal Alouettes. You got the Hamilton Tiger Cats, the BC Lions, There's a lot of these teams.
We've really gone off the rails.
We've gone off the rails here.
But for Stanley Cup Finals, it's hockey, in my opinion, is the best playoffs just because it is so unpredictable.
Correct.
And you can never guess what happens. Like, the President's Trophy winner hasn't won since 2013 when Chicago won it with Patrick Kane, Jonathan Toews, Duncan Keith, Brent Seabrook, Corey Crawford, all those, Blackhawk legends. Ever since then, they've lost. You look at last year with Boston. They set the single season record for points. They lost in the first round to a wild card team. That's why I love the NHL. Who ended up making the Stanley Cup final with this Florida team. And they're experienced, and man, both these teams deserve it. And I don't hate either team. I wouldn't be mad if either team won. Like, if Toronto makes it, I hope the other team decimates the Maple Leafs. Anybody that, in the original 6, I hope gets decimated. But none of them are here, so I don't have to worry about that.
I feel like it's been a hot minute. I feel like the only team who really has been from the original 6 recently has been the Boston Bruins.
Boston and Montreal. When Montreal had that, Montreal winning the Western Conference was so weird because in 2020, because you had the bubble teams, you had the Canadian teams and all that stuff, but they won the Western Conference as a member of the Eastern Conference. Mm-hmm. And then you had 2 teams in the same division make the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah.
Which is nuts.
Yeah.
But that's hockey, and that's why it's awesome. Also, real quick, I feel like it should be mentioned because they do this every year, and we are from Toledo. The Walleye lost again.
Yeah.
In the playoffs.
Yeah.
Again. To the Kansas City Mavericks, another Kansas City team that just won't die.
I think I have more faith in the Browns winning a Super Bowl than the Toledo Walleye actually winning the Kelly Cup playoffs, because at least when the Browns would do it, they would probably just do it all in one turn, not take 15 years to continuously be great, but yet just tear your heartstrings. It's not surprising. I saw that coming from a mile away.
Yep.
And Kansas City's looked really good as well in the Kelly Cup finals.
They won the Bradham Cup, which is the President's Trophy of their league. So,
shout out the Walleye. You always put on for the city in the regular season. We appreciate
place shows
that.
up, man. Hey, the Huntington Center is one of the hardest places to play in that league because it's a sellout every single game. But yeah, just thought I'd throw that in there because they lose every year, and maybe one day they'll win the Kelly Cup.
And that's all right because they never will, and that's all right. Shout out the Walleye. They'll become a different franchise by the time.
Shout out the Toledo Storm when they last won the Riley Cup.
Toledo Gold Diggers, Toledo Mercury.
Hornets.
If you know if you're from the area. But that's gonna wrap up episode 105 here at the Ball Beats podcast. Keep on watching. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that push notification bell to stay up to date on all new videos. Signing off here. We'll see y'all guys next week. Take care.